Hello and welcome! My name's Heather. I'm a registered professional counselor and a certified life coach, and I'm a huge fan of Gilmore Girls. Today, I'm going to be analyzing the episode where Jess moves in with Luke. Let's get to the show.
Jess? Luke? Okay, so,
That's probably one of the most awkward greetings ever. This can also be a sign of them not being close. This can also be normal for them. Maybe this is how they behave in new situations, especially with someone who they aren't close with or they don't know very well.
This is my diner? Oh, belonged to your grandpa. Yeah.
So we see Luke trying to make an effort and make Jess feel welcomed. Jess is giving him absolutely nothing. He's giving him one-word answers, he's not really asking questions in return, and he's not really engaging. So what could this mean? It could mean that Jess is just really uncomfortable. Maybe he's just more of an introvert, and maybe he's not comfortable with Luke and he doesn't really know him, and maybe this is his normal behavior. Maybe he likes to keep to himself, and he's very minimal in his interactions.
That's my bed. That's your bed for now, but the sheets are new. There's the bathroom, there's the closet, there's the dresser. We
can see that Luke tried his best to make Jess feel welcomed under the circumstances. So he's bought a new mattress with new sheets with Lorelai's suggestions. He's bought food that he thinks Jess would like. Now Luke is working under a lot of assumptions as to what he thinks Jess would like. And again, he's doing his best to try to make Jess feel welcomed, especially since Luke doesn't have a lot of experience with raising kids or raising teenagers. We see that he does his best to help out with Lorelai and Rory, and he's very much involved in Rory's life. Now, this situation is going to be a little bit different because Jess is under Luke's direct care, and Luke is going to be his guardian. This is obviously new territory for Luke, and we can see that he's doing his best to try to piece together what he thinks he needs to do in order to make the environment best for Jess. However, he hasn't really asked anyone for help. Maybe he did talk to his sister Liz and he has an idea of what to expect with Jess, but it sounds like he's not really asking for help or asking for more information, and he's not really engaging with Jess in a way that allows him to get more information about how he's feeling or who he is. What are your thoughts about Jess being sent to live with Luke? Let me know in the comments below.
I'm going to close up at 10 tonight, so I thought, so you 10? But wait, you need keys. No, I don't. I still don't want to know why.
We don't know a lot about Luke and Liz's upbringing. Luke did say earlier in the episode that Liz was a bit of a black sheep in the family, and that Luke was the one who basically had to grow up when their mom passed away when they were young. Luke said that he helped the father take care of the diner. He was the one who ran the diner after his dad passed away, and Liz was nowhere to be found. So this gives us some information about what their family dynamics could be. It seems like Luke might have taken on the identity as the responsible one or the mature one, and Liz has taken on the role as kind of the free spirit or maybe the black sheep. And what's interesting about family dynamics is that everyone plays their own part, everyone plays their role, and everyone also enables the other person to play that role. So for example, in this case, for Luke to agree to take Jess in, he's fulfilling his identity and his role of the family dynamics of being the responsible one. He's agreed to let Jess live with him because he thinks that he can fix Jess if he could give him a proper and stable environment. We hear throughout the episodes how Luke would describe Liz, and he's described her as being irresponsible or crazy, and therefore he expects her to make mistakes and for him to come and clean up those mistakes. A lot of times when there's these types of dynamics within the family, it can create feelings of resentment on Luke's part. So he might feel that he's always cleaning up after Liz. He might feel resentment that Liz didn't stick around when their dad passed away. He might feel resentment that she didn't decide to help out in the diner and stay in Stars Hollow. So there could be a lot of resentment on Luke's part, but maybe he doesn't express them to Liz because I think she's the younger sister and he's the older brother, so there's also those dynamics in play as well. And also Luke's not really touchy-feely, so he might not be comfortable expressing how he's truly feeling to Liz, and instead he gets into the action mode and he takes responsibility and he tries to fix things. By Luke taking on those responsibilities, it could also be his way of maybe showing his love and care for Liz, because maybe he does really care and he wants the best for her. And this is his way of showing that he cares. Another possibility is that he likes to take that role and he likes to fulfill that role as being the responsible one. And it can help him fulfill the needs of feeling needed, or it can help with his self-esteem to know that he is there to fix things. And so that's why these dynamics within the family systems are really interesting, is because certain people are getting their needs met. For example, if Liz is known as more the irresponsible one, she knows that she can make mistakes and that someone else will come clean it up. And so she continues with this type of behavior because it's enabled for her to continue this way. So in this case, maybe Liz feels that she is cared for or she's loved by making mistakes and having someone else take responsibility for them. We can see that Luke is feeling a little bit lost and he's not entirely sure how to interact with Jess. Again, they might not be close at all, and they don't really know each other well.
Get enough space in the closet?
Plenty.
You hungry?
18.
What?
Just count how many questions till we hit 20.
Luke is trying his best to communicate with Jess, and a lot of times if someone isn't really engaging in the conversation, we tend to ask more questions, and that's what we see from Luke. Again, maybe Luke can give Jess a little bit more space to settle in, but Luke is asking those questions because he wants information from Jess. So he wants to know how he's doing, and Jess, again, is giving him nothing. Jess is probably experiencing a little bit of a shock because Stars Hollow is probably really different from where he lived before, and he's probably dealing with feelings of rejection. So Liz was the one who sent Jess off to live with Luke. He's probably dealing with feelings of abandonment, I would imagine, and hurt or betrayal, maybe some confusion as to why she would just abandon him.
Yeah, Liz, he got here fine.
Got here at 10 this morning.
Okay, hang on a second. Jess?
Pass.
We see that Liz is calling and Jess doesn't want to talk to her. He even said that he's been there since 10 a.m. and he's probably wondering, why didn't she call when I arrived? Why did she wait until the evening to even bother calling to see if I got here safely? So it's possible that they don't have the strongest relationship or the strongest bond. Now, I've talked about attachment styles before in my previous videos, but basically, there are 3 types of attachment styles. The first one is secure attachment, the second one is insecure attachment, and the third one is avoidant attachment. Now, these attachment styles are determined when we're infants, and it's based off of the relationship that we have with our caregivers. For avoidant attachment styles, typically what happens is that the child or infant has learned that they can't rely on their primary caregiver. In this case, it would be Liz. We've also learned that Jess's father pretty much abandoned and left the family, so he probably has learned at a young age that he can't rely on anyone. People with avoidant attachment tend to keep people at an arm's length. They try to distance themselves from people emotionally, and they try not to get too close. Even though they may crave to have that closeness and that intimacy, they don't trust them because they expect people to leave them, because that's a pattern that they've learned growing up.
What am I supposed to tell her?
Tell her I gotta take another crack at that closet. You know, I think I hung my Tool t-shirt next to my Metallica t-shirt. They don't really get along.
You really want me to tell her that?
You think a different band combo would sell it more?
Jess's sarcasm and his remarks can also be a sign of avoidant attachment. So instead of giving a genuine, clear answer, he uses humor or sarcasm to try to mask any feelings.
You know your mom thinks this is, for the best, for your own good. Anyhow, I guess you'll just call her when you feel like it.
Want to play some poker? $5 a hand?
No.
So Luke is trying to validate Jess's feelings by saying that he understands if Jess wants to call Liz whenever he's ready. And instead of Jess reacting to that or expanding further, he changes the subject and asks Luke if he wants to play poker. Now, maybe this is Jess's way of trying to reach out to Luke and try to bond with him. Although it's still technically gambling, but it's nice of Jess to ask Luke. And again, this could be his way of, wanting to get close to Luke. And they could definitely talk about other things if they're playing poker, but Luke essentially just says no. Now, I would be curious to see what would happen if Luke actually said yes.
She invited us to her house tomorrow night for dinner, and I said yes.
Jess gets up and leaves. So why does he do that? It's possible that he feels frustrated and fed up that everyone's telling him what to do, And he basically doesn't have a say because Luke agreed to go to the dinner without even consulting Jess about it. And I can understand why Jess may be feeling frustrated. He just arrived in a new town. He doesn't know anyone. His mom basically sent him away. Now he has to live with a stranger. And now he has to go to a dinner that he doesn't want to go to. And he probably feels that his sense of freedom is being infringed on and that he has no say. Luke is doing what he thinks is best. He wants Jess to get to know people, he wants him to settle in, and ultimately he wants to make sure that he's on the right track in life. Now, he could have also asked Jess about this earlier if he wanted to go to the dinner before agreeing to go. This might have helped Jess realize that he has a sense of freedom and that Luke understands him.
What exactly do you want from me? You bring me here to this place, you take me away from my home, my friends, and now you want what from me?
I'm trying to help you.
Well, stop trying.
And so we see Jess's perception of the situation, which is that Luke was the one who sent him away from his home and forced him to live with him. This isn't the case because we know that Liz was the one who asked Luke to take Jess in. Maybe Liz did tell Jess that Luke was the one who asked Jess to live with him. It seems very unlikely. It's interesting that he doesn't say that it was his mom's idea or it was his mom's fault. He's actually blaming it out on Luke. Now, this could also be possible because Luke is there and his mom isn't. So it's easier for him to direct his anger towards Luke as opposed to Liz. And we see that Luke said that he's just trying to help and Jess doesn't want it. He never asked for it, he didn't ask to be in this situation, and this can create even more rebellious behaviors from Jess. We'll see it later on in the series and how he doesn't want to be a part of the town, he doesn't want to be close to Luke, and he wants to basically get out of there.
Fine, you got it. Thank you. You're welcome.
And Luke pushes Jess into the lake. So it's definitely funny. I don't exactly know how that helps their relationship. Maybe Luke did this to show his frustrations, or maybe he did this as a prank to Jess. But we know that communication isn't their strong suit, and they communicate more so through their actions. So maybe this is Luke's way of showing Jess, these are some of the consequences for your actions so far.
This is done. Hey, you will get up. You will go to school. You will come home. You will work in the diner until closing. You will do your homework, and then you will go to bed.
So we see that Luke is trying to take care of the situation, and he's trying to set boundaries for Jess. He's trying to implement rules. He's trying to help Jess quit smoking, and this can be a good thing for Jess. However, we don't know if Liz set any boundaries for him at home, and it's also possible that at this stage of being a teenager, he won't react kindly to boundaries.
You will not steal. You will pay back Taylor Dozy. You will graduate from high school, and you will return Pierpont to his yard.
But when you're put in a situation as a teenager and you're forced to basically follow the rules of someone who you don't really know, it's going to be hard to be able to adapt to that, especially if you lived your whole life without having any rules or boundaries to follow.
Now, I don't know if this is the right way to handle this, but this is the way it's being handled, and that, my friend, is the end of this discussion. Where are you going? Out.
Well, at least I asked.
Now, Luke even admits that he's not sure if this is the best way to handle the situation, but this is how he chooses to handle it. And he also lets Jess know that he doesn't want anything bad happening to Jess. He's doing this out of a place of caring. I'm not too sure if that's well received by Jess because he does get up and leave. But we do see that Luke is learning and he's trying to do the best that he can and to do the best to adapt to the role as a caregiver now, which is shown with him saying, well, at least I asked where he was going. Now, it's probably going to take time for the both of them to adjust to this new way of living, right? So this is a new family dynamic now. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching and feel free to check out my other therapist reviews videos, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, be kind and love yourself.